Welcome to Group 5 presentation about Timeline of the History of Clothing. Timeline of clothing begins in prehistory when prehistoric people learned to use spindles to make yarn from fiber of plants and animals, and when first primitive looms appeared. Clothes of that time were also made from leather. Origin and history of clothing. Neanderthal man was the first known humans to make clothing and survived from about 200,000 BCE to about 30,000 BCE. During this time, the Earth's temperature rose and fell dramatically, creating a series of ice ages throughout the northern areas of Europe and Asia, where the Neanderthal man lived. With their compact, muscular bodies that conserve body heat, Neanderthals were well adapted to the cold climate of their day, but it was their large brain that served them best. History of clothing and textiles traces the development, use, and availability of clothing and textiles over human history. Clothing and textiles reflect the materials and technologies available in different civilizations at different times. The variety and distribution of clothing and textiles within a society reveal social customs and culture. Prehistoric clothing. One of the first simpler clothes was tunic, which was first made from two pieces of rectangular animal hide laced together on one side with a hole left for the head in the middle. Arms went through the open sides and the tunic was closed with a belt. Ice Age prehistoric clothing. Women included caps or snoods, belts and skirts, bandeaus, bracelets, and necklaces, all constructed of plant fibers in a great variety of clothes, from twin and basket wear to plain weaves. Stone Age prehistoric clothing. Stone Age people as the first humans were the first clothing and shoe makers. In warmer climates, they made their clothes out of linen since it was cool and lightweight, but in colder climates and during the ice ages, they made their clothes out of leather. Wool was used in later agricultural societies as well. Ancient Indian clothing. India was the first place where people grow cotton, even as early as 5000 BC in the Stone Age. Men wore dhoti, a cloth wrapped around their waist and knotted at the back. Ancient Egyptians clothing. Egyptians wore clothing made from linen. Linen is a light and cool fabric that worked well in the hot climate of Egypt. Ancient Greek clothing. Ancient Greek clothing consisted of lengths of linen or wool fabric which had rectangular shape. They were secured with clasps or pins at the shoulder and belt, sash or girdle at the waist. Women wore piplos, which was a heavier woolen body-length garment with shoulder clasp. Ancient Roman clothing. Ancient Rome generally comprised a short sleeve or sleeveless, knee-length tunic for men and a longer, usually sleeved tunic for women. Textile history. Textiles are formed by weaving, knitting, crocheting, knotting, and pressing fibers together. This was discovered in China and Egypt. Textiles appeared in the Middle East during the Late Stone Age. There is evidence that suggests that humans may have begun wearing clothing somewhere from 100,000 to 500,000 years ago. Primitive sewing needles have been found and are dated to around 40 years ago. In the 6th and 7th century, the oldest record of indication of using fibers comes with the invention of flax and wool fabric. Ancient Indian textiles. Textiles in India is one of the oldest in the world. Ancient Egypt textiles. Linen was by far the most common textile. It helped people to be comfortable in the subtropical heat or in their temperature there in Egypt. Ancient Greek textiles. In the lives of ancient Greeks and Romans, textiles such as wool, cotton, and linen were commonplace. They made use of this to make clothing, blankets, sails for ships, and other items. Ancient Roman textiles. Roman textiles relied on two materials, which are linen and wool. both of which were sold widely throughout the Mediterranean. However, cotton and silk from India and East Asia also made their ways into Roman markets. Next, cotton originated in South Asia. The first evidence of cotton use was found in India and Pakistan. Scientists believe that cotton was first cultivated in the Indus Delta. Silk originated from China. The industry undoubtedly began in China, where according to native record, it existed from sometime before the middle of the 3rd millennium BCE. History of wool or sheep hair. It was woven into cloth hair in Bronze Age, but in historical terms, this is comparatively recent. Elsewhere in the world, primitive man had domesticated the sheep. History of flax fiber. Flax is thought to have originated in the Mediterranean region of Europe. People of the Stone Age apparently produced flax utilizing the fiber as well as the seed. Now, these are the Asian cultural clothes, and first is Japan. Traditional dress of Japan is the kimono, which are generally made of silk, have large sleeves and reach from the shoulders all the way down to the heels. They are tied with a wide belt called an obi. In South Korea, their traditional attire is called hanbok, and it symbolizes the beauty of Korean tradition. Hanbok consists of a blouse shirt or a jacket called jujuri and a skirt chema for women, or lost pants baji for men. We also have here China and Philippines. The China consists four most distinctive types of traditional Chinese clothing, which are the hanfu, zhongshan suit, tang suit, and zhongsam. And of course, our very own Philippines. Barut saya is the Filipino style of women's clothes. Traditionally, it is composed of a blouse and a long skirt with a panuelo. Next is European cultural clothes. First is Russia. There are two major types of Russian ethnic dress, the sarafan and the poneva. A sarafan is a loosely fitting long jumper dress worn over a long linen shirt and belted. A necessary component of traditional Russian dress, the belt was often worn under the sarafan. Second is Germany, Lederhosen, which means leather trousers in German. This is the short leather pants worn by men. The dirndl is a ruffled apron dress worn by German women that consists of a bodice or blouse and a skirt. Third is the France. The most famous French traditional dress could be the Breton costume or the Alsatian costume. Commonly associated French clothing is the beret and the Breton shirt. Lastly is Italy. Italy traditional clothes women wear colorful embroidered skirts and bodices over lightweight chemises or blouses. And men's traditional clothing tends to be simpler but doesn't lack from attention to detail, with embroidery also and metal buttons and pins. We also have the North American traditional clothes. First is Mexico. Clothing in Mexico are huipil or Mexican skirts. They have various names in different regions. Huipil is a sleeveless tunic made from cotton or wool. It is worn with a skirt. And there goes the second one, the Jamaica. The traditional dress is made out of red and white cotton plaid, maroon and white plaid or madras. The quadrille dress is made of cotton. It's a bandana skirt. The skirt is worn with a ruffled sleeve blouse and a matching head tie. This slide shown the evolution of hats, socks, shoes, and underwear from old-fashioned to modern style. What are the clothes during World War I? Women and girls never wore trousers, and women wore long dresses and skirts. Men and boys would always wear jackets and ties and keep their coats on, even if it was hot outside. During World War II, the rationing of materials used in garment production introduced a new simplicity in women's clothing. Utility clothing covered a range of dresses, coats, jackets, trousers, shirts, socks, gloves, and shoes. Utility ranges were produced for men, women, and children. encouraged long production runs for utility clothing. Only 15 styles were permitted for infants and girls' dresses. In order to supply the war effort, fabric was rationed. Religious clothing is clothing which is worn in accordance with religious practice, tradition, or significance to a faith group. It includes clerical clothing such as cassocks and religious habit, robes, and other vestments. Accessories includes hats, wedding rings, crucifixes, etc. School clothes. School uniform are embedded with gender symbolism. Schools that require students to wear a formal uniform almost universally provide trousers for boys and skirt or dresses for girls. Occupational clothes. This will be basing on your profession or work, of course. The style, fashion, and clothing will in accordance with the occupation. Judgment clothes or your friend's style of fashion. Kidding. Judgment is a popular culture phenomenon in the Philippines. It describes a stereotype of fairly educated young people wearing hip-hop clothing. Ancient Greek men and women typically wore two pieces of clothing draped about the body, an undergarment and a cloak. They wore light clothes as the climate was hot for most of the year, and clothes were secured with ornamental clasps or pins at the shoulder and belt, sash, or girdle at the waist. Clothes in the past. Women used to wear conservative type of clothes and men used to wear formal type of clothing. Present clothes is very different from clothes in the past. It is bold and more artistic. Samples are shown in the picture. Clothes for future. It is determined in the present situation which we are facing a pandemic. That's all. Thanks for watching.